Let's talk about what we're going to talk about tonight. So, the first thing we're going to talk about for the very first transformational talks with Coach BJ is how to find peace at the peak of the pandemic. This is a very hot topic because, of course, our life right now is revolving around the pandemic. You know, our struggles, our challenges. So I just thought it was befitting to talk about where we are and to hopefully bring some encouragement, some positivity, how you can find peace, how you can thrive in the midst of the pandemic. And you ask, can you do that? Yes, you can. So again, I'm going to be sharing from my perspective what I believe are some key things, to look at as you are trying to find that peace, given everything that's going on, not only the pandemic, but the protests. So again, there's so many things that's going on in this pandemic. So the first thing that I will tell you to do, not only with this particular presentation and Transformative Talks with Coach BJ, but all of the ones I'll be doing after, is to get ready to take some notes. So have a journal, have a notepad by your side when I come on to do these talks, because I'm going to be sharing a lot of information. Again, some things you may know and some things you may not know, and some things that may inspire you to share with someone else. So I would just ask that you bring pen and paper, a journal if you have it, and again, get ready to jot down and take some notes. So that is the only requirement for this. And so each talk, I will always start off these talks with a quote. And so for the first episode, this quote is, your perspective is always limited by how much you know. So expand your knowledge and you will transform your mind. And this is exactly what I'm trying to do with these transformational talks with Coach BJ, is to just give you a different perspective, maybe something that you did not know. And a lot of times, we limit ourselves just based on the experiences that we've had or what we've been told. So I want to be able to hopefully in some way expand your knowledge and transform your mind in some kind of way. All right. So what I also bring to this is that I have the questions and the content to spark the conversations. So I bring you the questions and the content. And so for you, it's up to you to have the answer, because I can only give the information, and information is only good as to your personal situation and how you will use it. So again, I will always bring a few questions for you to consider and to ponder on and think about as I'm presenting. And then again, you have to look inside yourself and figure out, how does this question or how did this content apply to me? Can it help me in some kind of way? And again, if it's not something that can help you, feel free to share with someone else where it can help and be of use. Which brings me to my next point. So before we get into the peace and the possibilities and how you can thrive in this pandemic, there are two things I want you to focus on. And this is not just for the pandemic. This is for any situation. Anytime you are beginning to make a shift in life, there's changes going on. There's some unknowns or fears or anything that you may be experiencing. One of the things you want to stop and do is, first of all, any type of change or anything that's new in your environment, you want to be able to create the space and be able to invest the time in getting whatever that is. For the purpose of this presentation, I said peace and possibilities. But again, I want you to know that you can use this for anything. So again, you must first create the space and invest the time in getting whatever that is. So for this is the peace and the possibilities that I'll be sharing with you today. And then the second thing you want to do is you want to assess your current situation. What is your current situation like right now at this point? Is it good, bad, or indifferent? And so we're going to talk about that on the next slide. So here are the questions. So get your paper and pen out for the questions. The two questions I want you to focus on in this talk is, how do you see the world from your perspective? And what I mean by that is, there could be various perspectives that everybody have right now. So I could have a perspective of the world right now is that, the world is in shambles. We're never going to get back to our normal. You're angry, you're frustrated by so many different things that's going on right now. So that could be one person's point of view. Another person's point of view could be, Well, I look at this as an opportunity for me to kind of shift. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on in the world, but let's look at how I can utilize this time to be able to see, what good can come out of this? What can I get out of this time I have at home? Less driving out on the streets. How can I use again and invest the time in me to figure out what are my next steps? What does the future look like for me, right? So that could be someone else's perspective. So again, you have to see how you view the world through your lens. What is your perspective in all of this? So that's the first thing, the first question to ponder. And again, I have the question, only you have the answers. So the second thing is, what are your current challenges you're facing right now? So some of the current challenges you could be facing is, of course, the biggest thing, me included, is the digital learning. I have a rising kindergartner going to school for the first time. So not only do I have, the issues of digital learning, but just learning public school systems altogether. So, that's one of the things that I'm having to try to figure out and learn and, digital orientation and all of those various things. So for a parent, it could be the challenges of digital learning, whether to send your child back to in-person school, if you have that option. So that could be a challenge you're facing, or you could be facing furloughs, or have been laid off, or could be potentially laid off. So now that's a different situation you could be experiencing. So that's a financial situation. So you have to look at your financial situation in this case and figure out, okay, what am I to do next? So that may be one of the challenges you may be experiencing right now. So again, I'll say the two things you need to focus on is, how do you see the world? And then the second thing, what are your current challenges? Because until you take care of yourself, you can't take care of anything else. You can't get to the peace. You can't get to the possibilities. You can't get to what can I do next until you deal with your current situation. Which brings me to my next slide. After you have assessed your personal view regarding the pandemic and have addressed the most pressing issues, so once you have, had a moment to figure out what you can do about those scenarios I just mentioned, whether it's, digital learning or sending your child back in school, or a financial situation based on your job situation, how you're going to move things around, once you can kind of determine the best route to take on those issues, or again, any pressing issues, those are just some examples that I gave. Then you can move to the next phase of how to get to the peace and the possibilities. So for me, the first step to peace for me is my faith, or for others, their connection to something greater. But for me, it's my faith in God. So some of the things that I do is pray. I will meditate and set aside some time to spend with God so I can hear from Him, listen to Him speak, and then I can also get my prayers out and my requests made known as to whatever issues that I'm dealing with, right? And then I've also have taken the liberty to ask God, how can He use me during this pandemic? How can He use me during this time? And also increasing my Bible study. So those are some of the things that I have personally done. And I think one of the things, and one of the ways that I believe God has decided to use me is to do just this. You utilize the gift that I have as a master certified coach, life and health coach, to be able to help encourage people, help bring positivity to people's lives right now, because there are so many people going through so many different things. So if there's any sentence, any word, any golden nugget that I can bring to be able to help someone, that's what I'm willing to do. So that's how I believe that He has decided to use me in this pandemic. The next thing is to focus on mind and body and wellness. So again, it goes back to focusing on you. But the first thing I will say is to focus on what you're grateful for. And I know you may say, yes, Coach BJ, we're in the middle of a pandemic. How can I even begin to think about what I'm grateful for? But you are grateful for something. And I'm not just stating the fact of, oh, I woke up this morning. And for some people, that is a grateful if they're on a respirator or in the hospital or something serious is going on. But think broader than that. Think broader, as to what am I grateful for today? Other than the fact that I don't have COVID and everyone is healthy and everything. But again, think broader than that. So again, invest in the time and invest in the headspace to be able to take time to really think about that. The next thing is to focus on something that you haven't done in a while or you haven't done before. One of the things that I've done personally, as I get up early in the morning and have my time, with God, is I've seen the sunrise, and normally I only see that on vacation if I'm on a beach somewhere, or something like that. So the fact that I was able to just kind of really take in the sunrise, it was very refreshing. It was very peaceful. It was just really good. So that was one of the other things. But anything, I just name again my own personal experience. So the sunrise was good for me. And I will always say self care is the best care. And self care doesn't mean something you always do. So if you always get your hair done, if you always get your nails done, if you always do certain things, I'm not saying it's not self care, but do something different that you don't normally do. So the example I always like to give my clients a lot of times is that something that I don't typically do all the time is actually take a bath in the tub. I will take a shower all day. It's quick, it's easy. I can get to do what I need to do because it's fast paced. But when do I ever take time to just really sit down and relax, and take a moment for myself and just relax and unwind in a bathtub? For some people that might be normal, but for me, that's special for me. Um, journaling, for those who do not do journaling, is very therapeutic, to be able to write out your thoughts, write out what you're going through. And journaling can actually turn into something else that I'll talk about in a few minutes. And then music. Jazz music, for me, is very soothing. If I'm upset about something, or if the kids are getting on my nerves, I may send them to their room and I will put on some jazz music. And that really calms me and soothes me and bring me peace. So again, these are just my own personal, you know, um, topics and ideas that I'm bringing based on my own personal experience as to, what brings me peace. So again, mind, body, and wellness, you want to really focus on yourself. And then opening possibilities and thriving. So be afraid of the enormity of what's possible. So what are your goals? Weight loss is the best time to focus on weight loss during this pandemic because you're not tempted by passing by all of your favorite restaurants every day. You're not tempted by being in the office with people bringing food in the office. So there are so many reasons why weight loss is a good time to do it during the pandemic. Focusing on yourself, you have more time being at home. You're able to cook more. So it's a great time to do weight loss. Think about a new career. Think about entrepreneurship potentially, and relationship building. How you can connect with people and do that. Have that relationship building factor going on. Learning a new skill. One of the things that I started to learn is stock trading, learning some of the ins and outs, learning how to read graphs, something I've never been interested in, but I decided to say, hey, I want to learn something new. So it's been very interesting. And the person that I've been following, she's very easy to follow. Her name is Tila Holcomb, if you're interested. Um, so going back to my journaling point, when I say journaling can be therapeutic, but it can also be the start or the finish of you writing your book. There's a lot of people that talk about wanting to write a book about either their life story, their experiences, or something specific. Journaling is something, especially if you're talking about your own personal journey or experience, could be the very start to you writing your book. And then the last thing on this is think of how you would impact this world during the pandemic or once it's over. That's some of the things that you can be thinking about. How can you open possibilities and thrive? Right. So again, we've dealt with our issues at the beginning. So now we can really, again, have the headspace, make the time, and invest in ourselves to understand what's next for us. And then I'll say the last thing is to be kind, find ways to give back. When you give back to others, that is also very peaceful. It's a very good thing. It's very rewarding to give back to others. So, how can you volunteer or do acts of kindness during this pandemic? Whether it's as simply as going to the grocery store for somebody that is elderly, to be able to do that for someone, that is a great idea. A volunteer in your church organizations, volunteer at, there's a lot of nonprofit organizations right now that need assistance because of course a lot of volunteers have fell off. So anything that you can do safely, try to give back. And then focus on how you can be part of the solution and helping others. And as I stated earlier, I believe that me doing these talks and then the other project I'll be releasing next week, which is Positive Mindset in Minutes with Coach BJ on my YouTube channel, is another avenue and a quick way that I can hopefully try to make a difference in someone else's life. And so the last thing is my call to action. So I will ask you, what is the smallest step you can take within the next 7 days to challenge yourself to at least identify one of the things that you've learned today that you can implement within the next 7 days? What does that look like for you? What can you implement next? And then the second thing you want to think about is the resources. What resources that you need in order to make those things happen, whether it's, researching a topic online. So let's just say, for instance, you're looking at owning your own business. So you need to look at, where you want to open your business, some of the competition that's out there, your product. Is your product something that people need at this time? So those are some of the research and the resources that you may need to obtain in order to fulfill whatever that action step is. And then the last thing is accountability. Accountability, accountability is key, because you need someone that's going to support you and make you accountable for you to follow through. You want to be able to follow through and not just say, I'm going to do this week, and then the next week, it's just a paper line on your desk and you haven't looked at it again. Or after this talk, you've put the journal to the side and you haven't looked at it again. So once you've come up with whatever goal you want to accomplish within the next 7 days based on what you've learned today, find an accountability partner and say, hey, mom, or hey, best friend, or hey, husband, or, whoever it may be, make me accountable. Within the next 5 days, I need you to call me and say, have you did X, Y, and Z? Whatever you told them that you are committing yourself to, you want them to give you a call within the next 5 days. I'm not going to even say 7. So at least they'll give, if you haven't done anything, at least they'll give you 2 days to try to get on top of it. So this is actually the end of the presentation, but not the end of the conversation. So what I'm going to do is come back over to Facebook Live, and I would love to get your feedback, and I would love to answer any questions you may have. So I will be back with you momentarily.